In today's lecture, I'm going straight to the first theory. Last time we talked of the theory division, or we talked of how the theories were subdivided. We talked of the meta-ethics, we talked of the normative ethics, we talked of the descriptive, and we talked of the applied. And we said those are the divisions of the ethical theories. And we already tackled that, and I went through that very well. And I said today, if I come back, I'm going to be talking of the first theory. I may not finish this theory because of the time, but let me see if I can push it to some level where we can understand. My slides appear like this because I'm getting the notes direct from my dashboard, and I believe everyone is seeing it clearly. The first theory was developed by a scholar, and a philosopher, and is called Kantian, and the theory is called Kantian's ethics, and a word was added to it as categorical imperative. This was the first theory which was developed by this gentleman. We shall look into depth about this theory and what this man believes to be a business ethic, or to be an ethic, or what is considered to be a good behavior or a moral behavior in a business setting. When we go to our first slide, they say Kantian's ethic is an ethical theory developed by Immanuel Kant. That was in 1772-1804. He is a German philosopher. That means he's from German. This theory is an example of a deontological theory. A deontological theory, we shall also look into that in the depth as we shall be moving on. To our understanding, a deontological theory is that theory that judges morality of action based on whether the action itself is right or wrong. This theory, to him, he was connecting his theory, or his theory is an example of a deontological theory, which is a theory that judges morality of somebody's action basing on whether he was right or wrong, rather than whether he was right or wrong according to the set rules or duties, rather than the consequence of the action done. We shall look more into this, his theory, and how it is more related to this. Then he believes that the rightness or the wrongness of an action does not depend on the outcome. How right you are or how wrong you are in your action will not depend on how the outcome of what you have done. This is how also he believes, but rather on whether they fulfill the duty. In other words, he does not look at whether what you did is wrong or good, so long as you are able to do what is required of you. And that is what is called the impressive. We shall also understand this better when we shall look at what the impressive, the categorical imperative. Kant believed there was a supreme principle of morality, which he referred to as the categorical imperative. Meaning, to him, he believes that there is a supreme law, or a law, a guide that guides humanity, that guides how human beings must behave. And this law is in a way that is what we call the categorical imperative. I want you to get this very clearly. This law stands that, or this principle stands in a way that whatsoever you do, whatsoever act you do, should be something that can be done, can be accepted universally, can be an action that can be accepted everywhere in the world. If it is telling truth should be accepted the whole world. If stealing is wrong, meaning the whole world will recognize stealing as something wrong. This is what he based on his argument. This man calls Kantian, and he comes up with this theory, which is more connected to what we call the categorical imperative. And the categorical imperative is what I have just explained. We shall still see it ahead. He continues that the categorical imperative as an objective, rationally necessary, and unconditional principle that we must always follow despite of the natural desires. We have to we have to the contrary. To him, we have to do something right unconditionally. Whatsoever the condition is, something that you have to do has to be the right thing, something that is accepted universally. I will be using that word. Universal, I've given an example, something that is accepted all over the world. That is according to him, and that is his categorical imperative theory, his categorical imperative ethic. That is how he described it. Therefore, Curtius explains and says, therefore, acts such as theft, lying, and robbery were considered immoral. It is very inhuman, it is every human being's duty not to indulge in such activity, even if they bring wealth or happiness. To him, these are examples of universal principles that are accepted. Theft, lying, and robbery, they are all over the world accepted as in an ethical behavior. They are all over the world accepted as a behavior that is not accepted. So to him, nobody should indulge or nobody should get involved in such an activity, even if it makes you happy or it makes you wealthy. That is according to Kantians, and that is how, for him, he say you should do something that you know that is accepted universally as a right thing. The immoral activities that he considers irrational. When you talk of an irrational, when you talk of an irrational activities or rational activities, we are looking at those activities which you do based on certain objectives. Rational means something good, irrational means something bad, but you do it based on a certain set objective. Those are what we call rational activities. The immoral activities as irrational, to him, violation of those activities, they violate the categorical imperative. As per Kant, all immoral activities are considered irrational. All immoral activities are considered irrational. This is because they directly violate the categorical imperative. I already said that the categorical imperative principle says any activity you do must be accepted universally. So for him, anything that is immoral is also irrational. The reason is because they are not accepted universally. This is because they directly violate the categorical imperative. Acting immoral is seen as acting against reason itself. When we talk of acting against reason itself is more related to why God created humans. We shall see in our continuation that this man, in his theory, more of his theory is based on scholars' ideas. More of he adopted some of his principles from the biblical ideas, the people who wrote the Bibles. We shall see them, because I told you, when we talk of immoral act, when we talk of irrational act, when we talk of unethical behaviors, we are more or less guided by the biblical theories. So to him, acting immoral is seen as acting against reason itself. That means acting against inhumanity, or acting against the reason why a human has to exist. If you want to clarify this, you can Google in your time and you say acting against reason itself, and the AI tools will give you more on that. It is more acting against inhuman itself. As we continue, the unconditional nature of duty, now he continues to explain Here we are trying to continue explaining the Kantian's theory and what he came up with in the discoveries he came up with in his theory. The first one, we look at the immoral activities as irrational, and we already looked at that. So the second part he came up with the unconditional of duty, and to him, he elaborates on obligation. He looks at obligation. What are you supposed to do? Duty. He emphasizes the obligation to do our duty is unconditional. To him, when you are given work to do, you have to do it because you are given the conditions to do it. Unconditionally, you have to do your obligation unconditionally. That is according to Kantians. This means we must do it for the sake of duty itself, because it is inherently the right thing to do. If you read some of these statements, you will see that he indeed got his theory from the biblical scholars. Most of his ideas, he got it from the biblical verses or biblical books. He continues and says, our motivation should not be based on avoiding punishment if we don't do it and get caught. The moral worth lies solidly in the act performed from the duty. You don't need to do something because you fear that if you don't do it, you'll be punished. For example, I told in the group that students must come and attend the lecture, and if you don't attend, I will penalize by not giving you some marks. You don't need to come to attend the lecture, according to Kantians. You don't need to attend the lecture because you want the marks or because you fear the punishment. But you attend because it is a duty. This is how he understands his ethical theory. Hope that is very clear. I'm going to repeat it. You don't do something because you fear that if you don't do, you will be punished. Or you come to office because you know you need salary. Or if you don't come, I will be punished by not being paid. But you come to office, or you go to work, or you go to school, or you do whatever you do. If you're a parent, your responsibility of the family, you do it because it is a duty to be performed. That is according to him. The unconditional nature of duty, that is on that point. Then he says the imperative, the categorical imperatives are self-imposed restraint. This is another point under the Kantian theory. Consciousness and moral acts, according to self-imposed restraint. In the Bible, this is the self-control. Those of you who are into the Bible, this one is led to more self-control. According to the categorical imperative, the categorical imperative was Kantian's name for this philosophical remark. It is a self-imposed constraint representing the command of consciousnness. It's a self-imposed constraint. Constraint means control. You know the limit. I don't pass here. Here I stop here. I talked about this in our introduction part. Self-imposed constraints representing the command of consciousness. If something tells you, don't do this, you need to do it. You need sort of not to do it because it is not right to do it. That is according to Kantians. This conscience tells us that the only truly moral act is one done from a pure sense of duty. The only moral act, you do it out of your pure, it's done, the one done out of pure sense of duty. You're doing it because it's my responsibility. You're not doing it because you fear that if you don't do it, you'll be punished. To him, that is what he refers as an ethical behavior, which is the categorical imperative. The virtue as a requirement for the categorical imperative. He also came up with this in his theory. Example of the moral requirements, according to him, under this requirement, therefore, quantities like honesty, truthfulness, integrity of human beings may be termed as a requirement of the categorical imperative. To him, honesty, truthfulness, and integrity for a human being may be something very important. That's why he put it as a requirement under the categorical imperative. And if you see honesty, truthfulness, and integrity, these are universal principles. It is everywhere. You have to be honest because that is how people have to behave worldwide. They have to be honest, they have to be truthful, and they should have integrity. These virtues are not merely good qualities to possess, but duties derived from universal moral law. I don't need to explain this. It's just what I said. They are not just mere good duties for somebody to have, but because they are things that every human being must have so that we exist in the universe as human beings. Hope that is also very clear. The categorical imperative, fundamental principles. Now let's look at the fundamental principles. The fundamental principles, according to him, the fundamental principles are, Kant states that the categorical imperative is a fundamental principle of morality. To him, it's a fundamental principle, this behaving in a way that everyone in the world must behave is a fundamental principle of morality. That means for you to be moral, to him, it is very important to behave in a way that you think everyone in the world must behave. This is still under the theory. This one, the fundamental principle, is under the theory. It is none other than the law of an anatomy will. The law of an anatomy will, let me look at the anatomy will. The word autonomous, the word autonomous is the right or condition of self-governance. The word autonomous is more connected to this word, consciousness, self-constraint. This is autonomous, self-constraint, constraint is more connected to that. So according to him, this is none other than the law of an autonomous will. You yourself control yourself. You govern yourself. To control yourself, you know this is right, this is wrong as a human being. This is why I say this man so much picked his theory from the biblical stand, as we are following. Also, under the fundamental principle, under this theory that he called the categorical imperative, the last point he said, this highlights that the moral laws are not external impositions, but self-legislated by rational behaviors. In other words, to him, he say, these moral laws, they are not things that they come from an outside of a human being or somebody can see, but they are from within a human being. They are from inside. They are more of a behavior that someone must develop from within himself, within the society. You know, you have to be honest, have to be truthful. I don't need to do corruption. And we shall see all those ethical behaviors later in our next lecture. I don't need to do this. It should be from inside yourself, self-legislated by rational behaviors. You control within yourself. Okay. Then he also continues, classification of the categorical imperatives. Kant's classifications, he classified his categorical imperatives according to what we call headings, if you see where the cursor is, or formulations. And he categorized these imperatives into different categories. Just let me read so that we flow together. Kant has classified the categorical imperative in 3 main formulations or headings. These different formulations essentially express the same fundamental moral law, let's mark this, but from different perspectives. Let's go direct to that, then we understand the point behind that. The first one is universality, which is what we have already explained. Universality. This is the first classification of categorical imperative, according to Mr. Kant. He says there must be what we call universality, rationalization, something like that, if you get that word correct. In other words, it should be something accepted universally. Okay. To him, he explains and says, this principle, as a principle, he says, it's an act that can be said to be rightful or immoral if it's if it is maxim. Maxim is a statement, a short statement that explains the true meaning of something. For example, somebody say action speaks better than words. That is a statement that we call maxim. So to him, an action, the universalization or whatsoever that word is an act that can be said to be rightful or moral if it emerges in the underlying principle or ruling guiding your action can be universalized. In other words, whatsoever action you do or the rule that guides the reason why you did something, that is the rationality. You remember I said rationalism or rationalization is doing something based on set rules or objectives. So when you do the action, the rules that guide you to do that action must be something that is accepted or something that is rightfully accepted or something that is accepted as an immoral, if it is the negative side, universally or globally. Meaning, you should only act according to a rule that you would want everyone else to follow in a similar situation without contradiction. In other words, you do something or you do something which you would wish someone else also would be doing somewhere else. That is the first classification of the categorical imperative. Example, issues of honesty, truthfulness, integrity are universally applicable duties. If lying are universalized, truth would collapse, making effective communication impossible. Here now, according to him, he picked example of honesty, truthful, and integrity, and of course lying. And he says, if lying was made universal, and for example, we say, okay, let us lie. Let us say lying is okay. Okay, let everybody start lying. That means truth would collapse. We shall not have no truth, making effective communication impossible. Nobody will trust the other ones. Imagine everyone is lying and the lying is truth. If you see today on the media, you do realize that the influence of AI is too much that even believing what is true becomes hard. You see, and this is one of the effects. Believing what is true is that because there is an element of lying where somebody can develop something from nowhere. Today I was watching the clip of how is it Prime Minister in Kenya, the one that passed away, Raila Odinga. Somebody was arguing that the attack of the crowd on the plane that brought him was AI generated. You can imagine this. Someone said, no, that is AI. You can see people crowding the plane and, making noise and what. But somebody said, no, this is AI. So imagine truth being made a lie and a lie being made truth. Indeed, communication would be disorganized in the world. That is according to him. So to him, the law that guides us must be universal law that is accepted by everyone. That is according to Cartesians. Secondly, the formula or the heading, when we say the classifications they are made into formulas or headings. The second one, humanity as an end, not a means. What does he mean by saying humanity is humanity as an end but not a means? Let me first read through that. The categorical imperative implies that every rational being exists as an end in itself, but not merely a means. In other words, all of us, I don't need to meet someone so that I do what he wants with him so that I get what I want and I go away. but I do something with someone because we are both human beings. This is what this statement means. You don't need to treat somebody because he's merely a means that you have to do what you want, but you have to treat somebody with respect because you feel this is it, the end, like this is it, this is how we have to exist. That is according to that statement. So to him, humanity as not a means, we human beings, we have to treat ourselves well. We respect ourselves, we treat ourselves well in workplaces, we behave well because we have to exist together, but not because we treat ourselves anyhow because we know after all I'm leaving you, I'm going. That is according to him. In his explanation, meaning, do not use people arbitrarily for your own purpose. Treat humanity, whether in yourself or in others, always as an end in itself, and never merely means, which are what I've explained. Implications: this emphasizes the inherent dignity and worth of every rational being, prohibiting exploitation and manipulation. These two words, what I just explained. You behave with people, you must live with people together in a community, in a business, in a workplace, in a school, in even a group like this. You need to treat people with respect because they are human beings. We cannot exist without each other. But we don't need to manipulate people or exploit people for your own benefit. So that one makes it an immoral or unethical behavior. Let's move on to the third one. Kingdom of ends. He also came up with a formula or a heading that we call kingdom of ends. According to him, every individual should behave as though every other individual was an end. It's more connected to that one, but the difference is here. Everyone should act as if everyone else was following the categorical imperative. You must treat other people because you believe they are also doing what you do. This one is more into trust. You treat somebody well because you know it's a universal law and himself will also do you well. This is what we call in the Bible, they say, cast your water upon the rivers. For those of you who read the Bibles, yeah? You cast your bread, you go to the Bible, cast your bread upon the waters. It means you throw your bread on the water, it will float. And maybe one day it will float back and you will eat it again. Or it will float and someone ahead who is hungry will eat it. You see? So to him, we must treat human beings as an end because it is the way we have to behave, assuming that that human being will one day also treat you well. That is according to his theory of ethics, or the imperative, the categorical imperative. Under this, the kingdom of ends. Meaning, act as if you are a legislator in the kingdom of ends, a community where all members are rational beings who respect each other, inherent worth and anatomy meaning autonomy, self-control, and where everyone acts should become universal law. I already explained that in my former. In continuation, they say under implication, these formulations combines the first two. Envisioning a moral community where rational beings universally follow ethical laws, each acting autonomously and treating each other with respect. Let's look at the futures of his, because my time is going, let's look at the futures of his theory. What are the points he brought out? Or in the summary of all those, in the summary of the explanation of his theory, and we also explained the classifications of his theory, the formula 1, 2, 3, and 4. You saw them there. So let's look at the futures. How does it look like? First, there is what we call deontological orientation or duty-oriented. I already mentioned duty-oriented. The explanation is down there. Let me just classify them quickly. I want to finish this part before time catches us up. We have normative ethics, is another classification or characteristics. Also, he is argument or his philosophy is based on categorical imperative. I've already mentioned categorical imperative. When I reach that, I want someone to explain for me this point. Individual autonomy, I want someone also to explain for me individual autonomy. I've already explained that. Disregard for end results, I've already explained that, but this one I'll come in if time will allow. Then morality based on categorical imperative. So straight away, let's begin by the first class characteristics of his definition, which is the ideological autonomy, duty-oriented ethical theory. All moral actions are bound by implied duty. I already explained this. All moral duties are bound by the moral, all moral actions are bound by the duties. You have to do something, not because you're fearing to be punished, but because it is your duty. I already mentioned that. He also, under this, one should not avoid duty in any case, regardless of the consequence. If it's your duty, my friend, you have to do it. If you be punished or, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Samuel. It's okay. Actually, I was supposed to stop at 6, but Samuel, since you said you will go at 6, let's give more 20 minutes so that I can. We're supposed to stop at 6, actually, not 6:30, but it's 1 hour lecture. But because of that, it's okay. It's okay. I will stop at 6:20, as Samuel has. I've seen your message. Thank you. One should not avoid duty in any case, regardless of the consequence. Don't run away from your duty. It's your responsibility. Regardless of what happens after the duty, don't run away. That one brings us to accountability. You must be accountable for every action you do. The focus is on the inherent rightness of the action itself, not the outcome. The focus, according to this, according to his theory, under this, we look mostly at the action, not what came out. We look at why did somebody do this? So when something goes wrong, in the line of your duty, you are judged based on the action, not the consequences. If you remember what I said before, you are judged whether the work you have done is wrong or good. You're judged based on the reason of the duty. I was doing this, that's why this happened. If something goes wrong, so long as you are in the line of your duty, that is where you are justified. Normative, I said someone will explain the other two. Please, someone who is ready, you will come in. With normative ethics, according to his futures, under normative, this means it is based on practical orientation. You have to be doing something. You have to be doing something. Or it is a behavior that is adopted from a practical behavior. So people doing norms of people, how people adopt things, how people believe, it is more connected to that. His theory is more connected to, it's more practical oriented. It provides certain principles and standards that guides how people should act. It guides us on how people should act. You remember we already explained this, the categorical imperative guides people. You must be truthful, you must not lie, you have integrity. So his theory also guides us of how people, the standards and the principles that people should possess when they are acting. Okay, based on categorical imperative, can somebody come in and explain that to us? I want somebody to help me. Can you remember something? How is it theory based on categorical imperative?
I'm very good from this side.
Yes. Someone got that point, categorical imperative. You can try, then we shall pick up from there. Based on categorical imperative, his theory is based on categorical imperative. How is it based on categorical imperative? Are we there? Modom, can you come in? I'm seeing Modom. Hello, students, are you there? Kindly, can somebody say something? Hope I was not talking to myself.
We are getting you.
Yes. Someone got something, categorical imperative.
We are getting you actually.
How is it categorical imperative? What does categorical imperative say? Yes, please. I'm waiting. Someone with an idea?
Can I try briefly?
Categorical imperative. Nobody has an idea? Yes, madam, please come in.
Yes, let me just try briefly. Yeah, just subtly.
Unmute your microphone.
Sorry? Are you getting?
Modong, I'm
Hello?
not getting you. Your hand is up.
No, but you asked me to try. And I've opened my mic.
Yes. Can you say something, Gladys?
Yeah, yes, I was actually saying, let me try it just briefly. Like the whole of my understanding about categorical imperatives is all talking about.
I'm not getting
yes. You are not getting me?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
sorry, members. Sorry, I muted my, sorry, Modong, I muted my speaker. Sorry. Can you come in, Modong? Sorry, forgive me before God. Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yes, please.
It's okay. So you're getting me loud?
Yes, very clear. I'd muted my microphone long ago.
It's okay. Let me just try for 1 second because my battery is almost just even wearing off. Yeah, so the whole understanding about these categorical imperatives, it's about doing something not because you fear punishment, but you do it because it is a duty. It is actually an obligation for you to do it.
Okay.
You are not to do it because you are expecting, like for the workers, you go for work because at the end you'll be paid or you are expecting some returns, but you do it because it has been a duty for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is actually a summary of what I've got, and my battery is going off.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, what you have explained is this one. Is theological ethical theory.
Okay.
Yeah. With the imperative, you're doing something because it is accepted universally.
Oh.
Yes. You're doing something because the whole world that we have to behave like that.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Peter, you can come in. I pray your battery don't go off, please. I wish you could still attend with us.
Yes, Mr. Gary.
Yes, please. Imperative.
Thank you so much. Let me try, based on my understanding from the presentation you gave, categorical imperative actually express more on the unconditional moral command and the principles of the moral duties that derives to make sure we do things based on unconditional kind of moral aspects.
Yes. And because it's accepted universally, that word must always be there. Thank you. I think that explanation is enough. John, you have something to say? Can I continue? Okay. John, can you explain individual autonomy?
No, I'm trying to ask some questions.
Yes, please.
I think you already talked about conditional nature of duty, which is already explained, but I want to relate it to as a business ethics.
Sorry?
I'm saying if we are trying to relate it to business ethics, so I want to explanation about conditional duty based on business ethics. Because I understand is when you do something moral, you can even help us to do something right. But if we relate it to business ethics, because it seems like Gerald now.
Yes. Now, what is happening here, this is someone's theory. So this is how we describe this theory. So I cannot push it so much into business if it is that is what his theory says. Then in other words, your question is good, but remember all the things happen in a business environment. They are still there, you know, they are still within the business environment. Even if they sound more off, but remember this is a theory. A theory is someone's thought. So this is how we develop this theory.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Modong, your hand is up. Okay, I think it could be, okay, she didn't just put up. When we talk of the categorical imperative, we said doing something because it's an obligation. Secondly, you do something right because it is accepted worldwide. Something that is a behavior that is accepted. As we gave example with lying. Lying cannot be accepted worldwide because it will cause an international problem between us human beings. Individual autonomy, we say you do something because you have to do it because it is right thing you have to do, or you do something out of self-judgment. You have to judge yourself. According to him, a human being must judge himself. Let's read from the context. Katz gives central focus to individual autonomy. According to him, autonomy is the source of rational action. Rational actions are freely chosen by individuals. Rational actions, I said rational is an action you do based on some set objectives or obligations. I have to do this because I said in the morning, I have to meet this. Okay, let me use business examples. I have to meet this customer because, I have to set this price because I have set my objective like this. That is a rational behavior. So rational actions are freely chosen by individuals based on moral reasoning, not external impulsions or desire. You do something because of your own judgment. I said when we talk of autonomy, more of your self-control. You do something because you yourself decided I have to do this, not because you are you have an external impulsion. Something pushes you from outside. Do this. Someone tell you do no. You do it because within you, you feel it's the right thing to do. Another characteristics of this theory is what is the disregard for end results. Katz theory does not believe in end results. The categorical imperative is to be obeyed and implemented whatever end results, whatever the end results. How the results come out, it's none of this man's theory. He does this scholar's theory. He doesn't care, but so long as you have done the right thing according to the duty assigned to you, he doesn't mind how it comes out. But so long as it is the right thing you have done according to the principles, whether it leads to satisfaction or dissatisfaction, so long as the reason of doing it was good, it was guided by the universal principle. This reinforces the ideological nature. Moral worth is in the intent and adherence to the duty, not in the consequence, as Modong has already mentioned under her former point. You do something because it is your duty to do. You have to do something because it is the right thing you have to do. It is the worldly principle, you have to do it. If it is not lying, you will say, me, boss, I'll tell you the truth. This is the truth. Let the boss deal with it. How the boss takes it and what he does to you as an employee after you tell him the truth, to him, according to Katz, it doesn't matter. So long as you have told the boss the truth, whatsoever advice you're giving in the workplace, or so he doesn't look at that as a morality based on, according to him, another characteristic, his argument or his theory is also based on morality, which is more solidly standing on what we call the CI, which is the categorical imperative. According to him, morality must be based on the categorical imperative. You are said to be conducting moral action unless and until you are going against a stated command as given by the categorical imperative. To him, you will continue doing something right, whatsoever the action is, so long as it's a universally accepted action. Moral action are those that align with the universal unconditional duties described by the CI, which is the categorical imperative. I want to finish this. That's why I'm trying to be quick. He also talks about the immoral action as irrational. You remember what I talked about? Irrational actions. You do an action because of a set objective. I will repeat that one so that we understand what is called a rational action. So to him, something immoral is an irrational behavior, something undesired, something you shouldn't have done if it is immoral. All immoral actions are irrational since they violate the categorical imperative. Immoral behaviors, we know what we call immoral behavior. When we talk of lying, morality in our society today is more related to sex, but not only sex. Immoral sex, this word is so common. Immorality is related to bad dressing, all these things, bad words, but it goes beyond behavior also. There are some behaviors that are immoral. So any action that is immoral means it is irrational, according to him. For Katz, acting immorally is not just wrong, but also illogical, not desired. People don't expect something logical. People get surprised. Why is this person behaving like this? So something immoral is not just only wrong, but people look at it worldwide as something not logical, as it goes against the universal principle of reason embodied in the categorical imperative. Criticism. There are people who say, no, this guy's theory is not good. There are people who argue it. As you know, theories have weakness. These are assumptions. Somebody studied a book and think, okay, let people behave like this because we worldwide, we have to behave like this. So definitely there is argument against his theory. We have looked at deeply the Katz theory. One, it's very difficult to be handled within business or to be implemented by business managers. It is also difficult to be implemented by individual when there's individual differences, because what I consider right is not what you may consider right. We are going to explain these points later also. They are also elaborated down there. Difficulty of universal command. It is very hard to say the whole world must follow the same command. Secondly, these theories are rigid and contextual differences. What applies in South Sudan may not apply in another countries. Let me first explain it from the slides so that we flow together as we finish. I'll just finish these 3 slides. Then next time we shall begin with the scholar's philosophy. And this one is very small. Next time I can even go with the moral reasoning down until the other one. With scholars' philosophy, that one I'll be preaching Bible, because that one is more of the Bible theory for the scholars' philosophy. So the Christians will enjoy that one. According to him here, the argument for this theory, or the reason why people criticize this theory, because of its difficulty for business managers. Difficulty for business managers to decide whether an action is right or wrong, rational or irrational, as prescribed by Immanuel Katz. It's very hard to determine what is right or what is wrong. In the application in business, it may be applied in general context of human beings' lifestyle, but it's difficult to apply effectively in business. It can apply in people's lifestyle, but there's something in business that are very hard for you to embed or for you to put in business. Very hard. His theory is very difficult. How a business must operate, you cannot on worldwide principles that I must do this because everywhere in the world, every business is doing this. No. So it becomes very difficult for managers to adopt this theory and bring it because of this categorical imperative, whereby everything you should do must be done worldwide. That is very difficult. You cannot say that. Situation decision, managers often make business decisions on situation basics. Every manager will decide and make a decision on what is on his table. He may decide to lie, because of the situation that is on the table. And it will be against the what? The principle of of cats, you see. So, and universally, we are not supposed to lie. So it is very difficult. It's very difficult to put it all together. So the situation that is on the table is always very difficult to judge it based on what cats is. Or we adopt a principle that, a behavior that is in the US, then we say we put it within our company because staffs are behaving like this. Let's give an example. In the US, I'm told that if you are a good staff, it is okay for the company to employ your brother. For example, let's say like that. This is what I'm told. If I'm a good worker in my in the company where I work in, I can bring in my brother. My brother will be employed because of the way I am. They believe that because you are a good person, it is a general thing in your family. This is how people believe in the US. I'm told. It may be it is a different argument to you, but it is not the argument within South Sudan. You see, so it is very hard to bring all this, to adopt a belief or a general behavior somewhere, and you want to make it a universal behavior, and you think it can work somewhere. It is very difficult. Difficulty with individual differences. Difficulty here, there was a repetition in our explanation, but the point here must be, kindly note it down in your book. Individuals judge things differently. There was a mistake in this slide. This slide, there was a repetition. Individuals judge things differently. So the way I judge things is not the way you should judge things. The example I have given. So it makes that theory of his, mostly the categorical imperative, that whatsoever I do, I make sure that it is the right thing because it is done also elsewhere. No, it is very difficult. Difficulty of the universal command, which is also connected to the individual, to the other two. Cat states about universalization, commands that to be implemented on universal basics. Critics say that it is quite difficult to list down such commands applicable to all locations. It's very difficult. You cannot say people here behave like this. It is very hard for you to control behaviors of people everywhere by listing how people should behave worldwide. It's very difficult. So this made his theory to be criticized. The challenge lies in creating specific moral rules that truly applies within expectation across diverse cultures. You see, this one I think I don't need to explain so much. It's very hard to apply a rule that will work in South Sudan and it will work somewhere. In some countries, I'm told you don't shake hands. It's a bad behavior. In some countries, you cannot hug. But in South Sudan, you see an elder, you shake hand. A client comes to your office, you shake hand as a sign of, as a gesture of good, of a welcome. But in some countries, you don't do that. You see, it's not allowed. So it is very hard to say a behavior must be adopted universally. Okay, this is the last one. The last one says rigidity and contextual differences. His theories are too rigid to change. The categorical imperative rules are religious differences. Categorical imperative struggles with religious differences, geographical differences, cultural differences, and the likes. What I just told you. It is different. You cannot put a universal thing for a Muslim to start behaving like a Christian, a Buddha to start behaving like a Chinese. It is very difficult. We have different beliefs. We have different norms. We have different dressing codes. The way people dress in the US here is not normal. It looks funny. You know, this modern life just brought some of these dressings. The way you dress in Juba, you go to some villages and people say, this one came from where? They call him a prostitute or whatsoever. But in Juba, you are okay because people are used to it. So because of differences in religion, in geographical settings, and cultures, it is always very hard to have a single principle or to have common principles that guide us worldwide. So these ones put his theory in argument. So please, in your free time, read through that theory. It has a lot of terminologies, but kindly take your time and read. You can Google those. All those details are within the Google system or within the AI system. you can get more meanings from that. So with this, we have reached the end of Mr. Emmanuel Katz' theory on business ethics, or on ethics, on how people should behave. So the next time I'll come, we shall look at the scholar theory, which I said, which is more looking at how the Bible defines how people should behave and which theories were adopted, mostly from the scholars who are in the Bible, the philosophers, who contributed, some of them contributed in the biblical adoption, or biblical verses adoption. So I think at this point, I will end here. And if at all someone has a question, kindly feel free to drop it on my WhatsApp, or you can email me, and I could help you. Though these lectures are always reloaded into our dashboard.